Shalom, shalom, and welcome. Welcome to the series of messages entitled Return to the Promised Land. My name is Symmanayah, and I believe that the gathering of set-apart Yashar'al from the four corners of the earth will be a scroll of physical life, rolling up, bringing us back to the place, the region where it all began. There are no doubts that one day the children of Yashar'al, the children of Yahuah, will return to the promised land. Among us, there are those who believe that this will happen before the physical return of Yahusha. We have others who believe it will be before the physical return of Yahushua, of which position I am compelled to take and believe. There are also Hebrews who do not acknowledge Yahushua altogether. In this installment of Return to the Promised Land, I want to revisit visions that I have received over the years that I am compelled to reaffirm. My brothers and sisters, it's easy to speak about history. It's easy to talk about what will happen one day regarding the return of the children of Yahuah to the Promised Land. It is also relatively easy to talk about some of the things that are expected in the future. While there is much talk about the destruction of the United States and other parts of the world, while there is much talk about the Great Tribulation, when it comes to what we must and will do, what needs to happen between now and our final days, those discussions appear to be limited. Words such as structure, leadership, discipline, refinement appear to be neglected when it comes to what must be done now. What are we supposed to be doing between now and the physical return of Yahushua Mashiach? There's not much discussion about details, but yes, there's a lot of discussion that a nation, a set-apart nation, is indeed awakening to the truth. Sure, there are many different interpretations of end-time prophecies, as well as many different interpretations of the scriptures. But the need to seek to discern what must and will come to be, that need is now. The need to begin to discussing, seeking to discern and share what must and will come to be, those discussions should be occurring now, my brothers and sisters. As we're going forward, there are living instructions and orders from the Almighty Father. My brothers and sisters, I am one who believes that the Spirit of Yahusha is alive and well. I'm compelled to believe that Yahuah sent his set-apart Spirit in Yahusha's name to recognize that no man can come to him except those who acknowledge his plan, which includes the sacrifice that was made, the resurrection, him sending his set-apart Spirit in Yahusha's name, recognizing the details and the processes in which he's established for our restoration. I further believe that by acknowledging Yahushua Mashiach in all that we do, that we believe that our order of him represent acknowledging the Father's plan. With these words said, come and listen as I share what I am compelled to believe will unfold regarding end times. Let me take a moment to say these things, O Yashar'al, for I believe that they are important. Know this, there will not be a pre-tribulation rapture. To stay in fellowship with those who embrace such a lie is to be in bed with wickedness and will have its rewards that will prove to be most painful and regrettable. I, Symmanayah, experienced a series of visions which revealed that end times will bring death and destruction across the planet like we have never before seen. Keep in mind that the planet have never had more than 7.2, 7.4 billion people on it. It is my position that some of us will die. Yes, we will die before witnessing the intensity of what's ahead. It is also my position that we will experience individuals among us betrayed by those in our households and those who we thought were indeed with us in unity. Betrayal will come. There will be some of us that will be killed for Yahusha's name. Let us gird up, my brothers and sisters, and seek to discern what we are called to do, whether it's to move or be in place and be the last echoes of set apartness before the final days, before we take our last breath. We must gird up, my brothers and sisters, and no matter what becomes of these earthen vessels, we must know that the plan of the Almighty Father is indeed unfolding. I believe the final Exodus will become clear as we begin to recognize the refining process that we are going through, as we begin to discover things we thought were correct and we find that they are not. In my visions, I saw catastrophic conditions, many different destructive things unfolding, all within the same period. I saw meteor showers hitting the earth, earthquakes erupting, tsunamis, economic collapse, and many different battles, all erupting with a tremendous force, shaking the very nature of society's so-called peace and civil order. It was as though the Spirit of Yahushua was showing me that these things will become most intense, and they will begin their most intense area in the region known as the Ring of Fire. I saw destruction that required men, women, and children, as well as all living things, to begin to migrate away from the area known as the International Date Line, where east meets west. At this so-called date line, it was like in my vision, the scroll was going one way, going westward. And on the east side of the date line, it was scrolling eastward. It was like 2 points, and destruction was coming, forcing man to migrate back to the region where it all began. And I've mentioned, if we realize that this Garden of Eden was in the region commonly known as Northeast Africa, and we see that in the final days that the wicked nations gathered in Megiddo before they marched against the set-apart children of Yahuah, who were at the set-apart mountain. I submit to you, it would be in the same region. It would not be China, it would not be Australia, it would not be South America or North America. We will witness all humanity, all men, women, and children that are physically alive, drawn back to the region where it all began. For the set-apart children of Yahuah, we will be centered around his set-apart mountain. For the wicked, they will migrate to the area commonly known right now as Jerusalem. In that region, they will try to establish, not try, they will establish their one world order before the final battle, before the physical return of Yahusha HaMashiach. For he indeed will protect those that are drawn to his set-apart mountain. And as I witness death and destruction, as I witness set-apart children as well as wicked ones die in my vision, it was as though the Almighty Father said, this scroll will roll up, and I will bring you back to where you once dwelled, in the land that I have promised. In the appearance of the scroll, my brothers and sisters, there was crying, there was yelling, there was weeping. There was change of position. I saw the set-apart children of Yahuah coming together, facing some of the most emotional and mental challenge ever could be imagined. Habitable places on this planet were shrinking. There were people beginning to race and run to and fro, trying to decide where to go, who to follow, who to get in contact with, what should be done. While we do not know where the Garden of Eden is, we do know that geographically the region is within proximity to the area known as the Middle East, which is actually Northeast Africa. Yashar'al, oh Yashar'al, things we say we believe are and will be put to the test in the coming of days. Take a moment and reflect on the condition of man, of how distractions are very much plentiful these days, to say the least. Take a moment and examine the condition of Yashar'al, for we are a set-apart nation awakening. But even among us, there are many different perspectives along this journey. Many different interpretations of scriptures, many different teachings, practices, behaviors. I say to you, O Yashar'al, the Almighty Father Yahuah promises discipline for his children. We will search the scriptures, and we will find that we are able to see that extreme hardships came to Yashar'al as a result of rebellion and disobedience. But out of the extreme humbling times came the strength of those who were chosen by the Almighty Father to guide his children. Know this, Yashar'al, the Almighty Father Yahuah will not be asking our permission to accomplish his plan. There are living orders, instructions, and warnings of which will be recognized and obeyed by those whom he has chosen to fulfill his promise. The time is now to consider what will happen as catastrophic conditions begin to unfold. Consider the characteristics of what people's lives will resemble when massive conditions and events force movement. In my vision, it was as though the Almighty Father Yahuah in Yahusha's name showed me that forced migrations will occur. It was as though the Spirit of Yahusha directed me to tell his children that forced movement is coming and that is necessary to fulfill what is promised by him. Yes, my brothers and sisters, like a rolling scroll, I saw massive congestion of people being forced in a specific direction. To those of the Western Hemisphere being forced to the east. To those who were at the date line going west, forced to move westward. Pray and watch, my brothers and sisters. The scriptures tell us about things that's going to occur. The scriptures tell us about millions, billions that will die. So do you not think that this requires movement, that there will be movement? I saw, my brothers and sisters, so much travesty, but I also saw individuals rejoicing, knowing that they were a part of the Almighty Father's plan and that his plan was unfolding before our very eyes. I saw individuals who had fled to the mountains as earthquakes spread and meteors bombarded the mountains. I saw that their ventilation systems became destroyed and they began to pray for the mountains to fall on them to escape the wrath of the Almighty Father, to escape from enduring the madness that they would experience as they become asphyxiated. In other words, as people began to suffocate for lack of oxygen that was in the caves, thinking that that was a safe place. And I saw, and it made sense, what the scripture was saying when it's saying mountains fall on us. I witnessed individuals trying to find their mores, their teachers, their bishops, their pastors, and other leaders to get directions and answers as what are we supposed to do? Where are we supposed to go? And many mores and teachers and bishops and pastors were nowhere to be found. They had abandoned their flock. I saw some chosen mores, teachers, and pastors going through refinement, being led by the Spirit of Yahusha, directing those who were with them to where they must go and what must be done. And I saw the unity of Yashar'al begin to unfold as the chosen leaders began to speak precise instructions with a power that ruled out all other imaginations and all other thoughts regarding what must and will be done. My brothers and sisters, I saw a great panic. There were people in disarray. There was no real order, but there was a narrative given by the wicked one in the formation of a one-world government. I saw among set-apart children, because of disobedience, because of unbelief, falling victim to wolves in sheep clothing. I saw individuals being overtaken by individuals who had no clue to what must be done. But I also saw those who were drawn by the Most High. I saw those who were directed and marched and came together. I saw the emergence of the 144,000, 12,000 from each of the 12 tribes mentioned in the scriptures in Revelation 7th chapter. I saw a great multitude, a number that was so huge. It caused me to ask, Almighty Father, I read where it was to be a remnant. How can it be a great multitude in a remnant? It was as though the Spirit of the Almighty Father Yahuah said, my son, look and compare the numbers to the total population. There could be tens of millions and yet be a remnant when you compare it to the total population of the planet. You see, my brothers and sisters, so many people are saying remnant, and they don't want to say a number, but they believe, or they would say, I hope that I'm in the ranks. There are many who are quick to say the remnant, but for some reason, my brothers and sisters, there are many leaders, mores, teachers, prophets, pastors, who are self-proclaimed or crowned by their followers, or those who are still growing in set-apartness, who are reluctant to say that it could be tens of millions because this requires work. This requires structure. It requires something that the Almighty Father will prove to be necessary. My brothers and sisters, I even saw individuals who will mimic the actions of the set-apart ones so they can be among the ranks of those gathered from the four corners of the earth. Remember, the scriptures talk about some tares with the wheat, or some goats with the lambs to the last day. It didn't say all, some. And I asked, well, how can it be? He said, well, there will be those who outwardly who would mimic, who would copy the actions, who will walk and cling on to the set-apart ones who are drawn. And I will deal with them judgment day. I prayed and asked questions on how will this come to be? How will we see Yashar'al come together? And I believe that he showed me that those who are across the oceans, that there will be a large group that will cross the oceans on container ships, that there will be container ships fitted for people to travel on. Not luxury liners, not luxuries and convenience and vanities that we are used to, but all that is necessary for us to physically survive such a journey across the ocean. It was like the Spirit of Yahusha brought to my attention that the Atlantic Ocean had streams and cycles that were slowing down. The currents were slowing down. They were changing as a result of climate change and global warming. They were changing in such a way that the seas would be calm. And in the calmness of the sea, ships can glide across the ocean with precision and with minimum resistance. It was as though the Almighty Father showed me that there will be millions of his chosen ones that will journey back to the set-apart mountain. I am convinced, my brothers and sisters, that this will come to be. I am convinced that the Most High Yahuah showed me, that the Spirit of Yahusha revealed to me that the two witnesses mentioned in Revelation will do more than what is written. They will be as the final two shepherds for Yashar'al. And these two individuals will be the last two major leaders of Yashar'al before the physical return of Yahushua HaMashiach. It was as though the Spirit of Yahushua revealed that there will be elders, counselors, and leaders who will confirm and reaffirm their appearance, confirm and reaffirm the emergence of the 144,000 and great multitude, and that each of these individuals that have been chosen to fulfill what is written will come together. We will witness a set-apart nation take shape. The formation of Yashar'al, set-apart Yashar'al, will come to be visible before the world. I am convinced that there will be chosen leaders, confirming and reaffirming those led by the Spirit of Yahusha, including the two witnesses. There will be chosen leaders who will be identified and give precise instructions. I cannot say enough, O Yashar'al. We will not go without. My brothers and sisters, my heart became heavy seeing the multitude of death and destruction. My heart became overwhelmed, and I continued to pray and pray as this vision came before me and unwound right before my very eyes as though it was a film strip. There is so much I wish I could say, but time and print and recording and our actions. But more than anything, the Most High said, I have revealed much to you, and I will have you speak as I direct you, my son. And I believe, my brothers and sisters, that there are others receiving some of the same visions, some of the same instructions, some of the same things. And I believe without a doubt, in this so great a cloud of witnesses, We will see individuals rise up, confirming and reaffirming all that is promised. Pray on these words, my brothers and sisters, for waiting for extreme times for proof may just place you in the midst of enormous congestion trying to reach departing points. Pray that this is not you. Pray that we know how to gird up and be strong and endure to the very last breath. I believe without a doubt there will be millions left behind. There will be millions that will die. And it's important to recognize that these bodies have an appointment to return back to the earth as it is written in the scriptures. It will be wise to discern the life in the scriptures that instruct us to recognize the need to worship and obey He who is the Almighty One, Yahuah, versus seeking to preserve these earthen vessels beyond their appointed time. Remember, it is written, he who seeks to gain his life will lose it, but he who loses his life for Yahusha's sake shall gain life everlasting. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, I desire to discover others drawn by the Spirit of Yahuah sent in Yahusha's name. I truly desire to witness unity among the children of Yahuah in Yahusha's name. I will not compromise the instructions and the directions that are put before me. I do not embrace the agree to disagree, and I do not embrace the fact that it is okay for us to be among us if we are divided. For iron sharpening iron, this will prove to be the characteristics of those drawn in these last days. I know there are and will be major disappointments among the drawn of Abba Yahuah. Individuals we thought were pursuing set apartness, we will discover that they were not, or either not with the same intensity as us. Be encouraged, Yashar'al. End times will become crystal clear in the coming days. Be encouraged, set apart family. Our redemption draws near and there will be movement. Let us gird up and be prepared to endure until the very last breath. Let us rise and prepare, for there will be those that will betray us. There will be those that will direct the enemy towards us, and we will face persecution. There will be those among us who will face martyrdom. And there will be those who will be moved and directed to the set apart mountain, who will be physically alive upon the physical return of Yahusha HaMashiach. Pray and watch. All that is written is about to be fulfilled. Pray and watch, O Yashar'al. There are indeed individuals chosen by the Almighty Father to direct his children, and we will grow to bear witness of what indeed is true. The days are coming. The days are coming, my brothers and sisters, where we will see massive individuals moving away from compromising teachings. We will witness unity come among those drawn by the Spirit of the Almighty Father Yahuah in Yahusha's name. We will see the unity that is necessary to fulfill and make clear that the 144,000 in great multitude are present and are fulfilling what is written, and more. I invite your conversations, my brothers. Listen carefully to this message. Review it again. Share it with others. Examine it. Ask questions. Let's talk about it. No, let's pray about it and seek to discern whether there are truths in these words, whether there is life in these words. Pray, my brothers and sisters. I know of no other direction to turn except to continue to pursue, to worship and obey He who is the Almighty One, Yahuah. In the name of Yahusha HaMashiach, I pray. To Yahuah be the praise and the honor forevermore in Yahusha's name. My brothers and sisters, I pray daily for set apart Yashar'al, for I see the most challenging times ahead unfolding. The realities of the things that we have read and more are about to be magnified beyond our wildest comprehensions. I am compelled to believe our redemption draws near, and it is sooner than we think. Until next time, my name is Symmanayah, and I bid you, O set apart Yashar'al, my brothers and sisters, I bid you, Shalum.